And welcome back to another wonderful episode of Evil Cats. I am your host, Houston Jazz, accompanied by my great friends Steve-O and at Joel_Spencer_.
I didn't know we were doing fun names. What the hell is this?
Well, maybe you should have paid attention, but alas.
Guy leaves the podcast for like 5 months and can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Damn.
Minnesotans, you know.
Damn.
Anyways, thank you all for joining us this week. This is a May going into June episode. We are deep into the off season, but it is still not over for one primetime Bearcats team that is doing the business right now, bringing home some pride for the Bearcats, and possibly could go a little bit deeper. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. We have a very interesting week coming up. All that to say, thank you to the 1012 network. Of course, our network overheads always providing great coverage of everything Big 12. So make sure to check them out at 1012 network on Twitter. Guys, the Bearcats, for the first time since 2019, have made the NCAA baseball tournament. The vibes are very high. There was a very clear goal set out at the beginning of the season to do this, and they have made the postseason in a year. The Bearcats baseball, we actually mentioned this at some point. They made it in a season that still Bearcats basketball and Bearcats football did not make the postseason. What do we do with this information?
Are we a baseball school?
I think we must be. We have to be at this point.
I think we are a one-sport school. That sport changes depending on the season and the year. Sometimes we're a basketball school. Sometimes we're a football school. Sometimes we're a women's volleyball school. Sometimes we're a Joel's intramural team school. And sometimes we're a Bearcats basketball school. Or baseball. What sport is this? Baseball. Too many sports.
Well, we also are a
NBA
dodgeball
playoffs
school.
are happening right now.
We're also a dodgeball school and a Rocket League school.
We are a dodgeball
And a disc golf school.
Yeah.
Do not forget disc golf school. God.
Disc golf.
Did they win, Justin? I forgot to ask you.
Yes, they won.
Right? Okay, yeah.
They won.
Shout out to them. Like that's an awesome accomplishment. But yes, you are right. Justin, real quick, on the baseball team, like a couple of weeks ago, I kind of fallen off from following them. They had a couple rough series, and they lost like 2 straight games to Xavier. One, they got like just absolutely pummeled, and it was like in the middle of March, like late March, early April. I kind of felt like the vibes were down, and it was more just like wondering, okay, they're probably going to be all right, but they might not make the tournament. But I don't know. They were pretty comfortably in the field as a 3 seed. They won the same amount of games as they did last year. They and their biggest win seemed to be a sweep against Kansas on the road, who was comfortably in the field as well. But I don't know. This kind of caught me off guard a little bit to understand how comfortably we were in. Maybe the field wasn't as strong this year as it was last year, because their motto for this year was 10 games better, and they finished literally 0 games. They finished the exact same. But I mean, hey, if they win 10 more games, that means they're holding a trophy in Omaha. So I'm good with that.
There we go.
That's a very nice one.
They were even projected as a 2 seed going into last week. Like they absolutely just to your point, not sure if the field was weaker. Know that the field must not have been too weak if plenty of other teams made it over the school up in Norwood. But it feels great to be in this position, and I mean, this team can get hot and plays off the vibes, so we'll see what happens going down to Knoxville. I think a lot of people are going to be making that trek. Also, how funny is it that Miami of Ohio is in the exact same regional as us? Yeah,
exactly. Well, and then the funny thing is too is that we're kind of getting that big conference bounce from this season, whereas the mid-majors over on the other side of town, they kind of got a one big league over there. So even though they said they challenged themselves, and their coach, who I happen to like, he's an Elder grad. He was on actually the 2005 state championship baseball team for Elder that I happen to be the bat boy on. I like him, nice guy, but he was quoted the other day as saying, "No one's going to look out for Xavier." And I'm like, you're damn right they're not. Yeah. No one cares. Like literally no one cares. So it's funny to see them be in a mid-major league. consistently called a mid-major by some of the biggest pages covering the sport. And, big old Cincinnati on the other side of town, we're in comfortably, easy. So, but the thing is, and I found this interesting. So apparently Tennessee has sold out their entire stadium for season tickets this entire year and has had zero room, even in the postseason, for tickets to be sold. So even for this Wake Forest Cincinnati game on Friday night, it's going to be all Tennessee fans. I don't understand that. Why are you going? I mean, your team plays earlier in the day. Go to that game. And two, how is that possible that you do everything as season tickets and you don't do anything other than student tickets as walk-up admission? It's cool that it's SEC baseball, but still I'm a little bit suspicious and or surprised by that.
Not to hype up, not as glamorous postseason success, but when we hosted the NIT a couple years ago for men's basketball, any season tickets were not valid. It was the postseason. It was, general admission. Anyone could buy any ticket in the house. And that's when it was honestly some of the rowdiest basketball games in years because there weren't any red sweaters down courtside. It was all young adults. It was all the diehards, all the recent alumni that were cheering on the team. And so I don't know how that's even allowed for postseason play. I get that you're, hosting the true NCAA tournament, but it's just interesting that, it is strictly all season ticket priority.
I want to say this too. I think it is interesting in that difference between what you'd usually see with postseason play and with this. I think the biggest thing is attendance, and Tennessee seems to continually be able to bring people to these games. And I'm curious if even for a regional, where you do have some teams that are closer, like Miami, I can't imagine there's a ton of Miami baseball fans, just as much as there might not be a ton of Cincinnati Bearcats baseball fans. However, I think both of those teams have enough people that would make the trip, or have enough local people that would make the trip. There's a ton of Bearcats in Knoxville. Plenty of jobs there for Bearcats. And then as well, Wake Forest, it's not too far of a trip where they can't make that either. So I think with that regional, it makes a lot of sense to open that up.
Okay, so I take it back. So I'm looking at I'm looking at a third-party ticket provider, no free ads unless they want to sponsor us. I think you guys might know who they are. They're named after a nerd of sorts, but there's tickets available for $26 on there for the Cincinnati Wake Forest game on Friday. So there's a possibility, obviously that you're gonna, if you're thinking about taking Friday off and going down, you could get there for sure. And then Tennessee plays the night game that night. Tickets are on sale for $93 for that one. So it's not impossible, right? Shockingly, I saw that on social media that tickets were going for $350, and I'm like, I should not have listened so quickly. I should not have gotten my ass NBA sent held real quick. But
I think if you see it on the internet, it's true. So
right. I mean, it's the age we live in. So,
well, I mean, it's just the way things go in this day and age. We just kind of have to believe what we see at face value and don't do any further research into it.
Maybe what we see on that ticket site is all season ticket resellers. So maybe that's why for the Tennessee game the price is just increased because of higher demand.
Yep.
Okay. Well, so we've very clearly identified the season tickets. We've clearly identified the location. How about this, guys? What are our odds here? The Bearcats, of course, in the regional in Knoxville, have the other three following teams. Bearcats, of course, making the fourth. Tennessee, Miami, and Wake Forest. How do we feel about the Bearcats' odds to advance with this pairing? And again, I think the way that this is set up, they have a shot. But what do you guys think realistically their chances are of advancing past this regional?
UC has beat Miami twice already this year. They're pretty close in RPI to Wake. UC's currently at 34, Wake's at 30. Tennessee's at 10, but they have lost home regionals and home games before. They did go out a couple years ago when they were the pretty highly favored team in the Super Regional to Notre Dame. I think that was a couple of years ago. So they are definitely one of the top teams in the sport, but it's not as if they are unbeatable. And crazy things can happen in this sport, especially, when you've got college players and they're completely, just off the rails. You don't know what to expect from them. So I kind of like what the Bearcats bring. They're bringing in a little bit of pretty much a hot offense right now. Bringing back Landon Vitterick. He was not able to go in the Big 12 tournament, but he should be back. They have a Golden Spike semifinalist in Carrington Cross, Big 12 Player of the Year. None of the other teams in this pod can say that they have a Big 12 Player of the Year. Only UC can say that. And they've got Nathan Taylor, who should be able to go Friday night. Joel, I'm a big fan of your Detroit Tigers. I am physically and emotionally attracted to the way they play baseball. And there's a man on the Detroit Tigers whose name is Tariq Skubal, who takes the ball every fifth day and just shoves it down your throat. He went complete game shut piece Maddox on Sunday, 9 innings, 0 runs, under 100 pitches. That's what we call a Maddox, Justin, by the way. And so this guy can absolutely just shove. And while Nathan Taylor is not a great one-for-one comp with Tariq Skubal, Nathan Taylor has the ability to just go out and just shove the baseball down your throat for a good 5-6 innings. I really love watching this guy pitch. He had 11 strikeouts earlier in the year in his second start. In only 6 innings, he can really just give it to you on any given night. So they're going to really need him to step up and be a big part of this if they can win. And we saw they took down number 1 Oregon State a couple of years ago on their home field. So these Bearcats, I really believe in them, and they got Loudon Brooks, they got Carrington Cross, Landon Vitterick, Jack Natilli, my guy Cole Klingenbeck just bringing up the rear there. They've got and Derek Pitts. They've got a lot of different contributors. I think they just really need that bullpen to hold this weekend, and they've got a chance.
Steve, you mentioned it. I mean, looking back to some of our most recent success, going to Oregon State and winning there, there's so much parity, especially in the regional round on the road to Omaha, that anyone can get in. It's really just 1 weekend of baseball after close to a week, if not more, of rest. Making sure your team stays hot. I absolutely think that this team has a chance, Steve, exactly because of your reasons. It's a hot offense. We have pitching studs that, we just need them for a couple games to get us into the next weekend. And I definitely think it's doable, especially, even if, hey, what happens if Tennessee gets upset in their first game? What happened? There's just so many what ifs that can so easily fall the Bearcats' way that why not go win the whole damn thing?
Plus, I have this to add real fast.
3-1 against ACC teams this year, Justin. And first game up is against an ACC team. UC went 2-1 at Duke in the opening weekend and beat Louisville pretty handily at home this year. My apologies. Please continue.
No. I just want to add this too. So something that we haven't talked about with this is the fact that, again, every season is different. However, we mentioned Oregon State, winners of the 2018 College World Series. Tennessee, they're currently defending right now. So this is not just necessarily a walk in the park. This is the defending team that won in Omaha last year. So do we think
defending team that is also orange?
A defending team that is also orange.
How about that?
We think that this is a team that specifically talking about the matchup with Tennessee, do you think that this is a team that the Bearcats actually could legitimately upset in Knoxville versus just the field? Of course, you would hope, maybe expect, but you would at least hope that you're going to beat are they going to play Miami at this point?
Likely would not play Miami unless you lose game 1.
Right.
You would play. Then you would play Miami because I don't think Tennessee is going to be losing game 1 at home Friday night with that crowd. I don't think that's going to happen.
That's a very good point. So,
but
with that
again,
said,
if they do, you open the door, you play Miami, a team you're comfortable with in the second game that you want to get as far as you can in the winners bracket, and obviously as far as you can without losing, because then you have that second loss to play with. You can if you can get to Sunday 2-0 real easy, then you feel comfortable and you still got majority of 2 games left to play. and potentially 3 if you win another one. And so because there's only 7 games in each regional, so the other teams will knock themselves out. You just got to take care of business.
So let's put this out there very clearly then too, because I think a lot of people who listen to our show tend to be much more of the Bearcat basketball, Bearcat football folks, maybe not so much baseball folks. So for those who are not necessarily familiar with the World Series, College World Series, like regional setup, very quickly, just explain that.
All right. So real quick,
cut.
You got 4 teams in each regional, right?
Yep.
Each team has to lose twice before they are eliminated. So, you can't, it's not like college basketball where, you run into a hot shooting team or your team can't buy a bucket, they lose and they're home. No, you get a second game. So you have, but, after the first day, there's 2 games. One plays 4, 2 plays 3. The losers of those 2 games play each other. The loser of that second game has 2 losses. They're gone. And the winner of those first 2 games play each other. Then that winner of those first 2 games basically just moves into the regional final because they're 2-0 and they don't have any losses. And the loser of that first game has to play the loser of the loser's game. Yep. One of them is going to go home. So then you're down to 2 teams. And if that obviously there's going to be a team that gets to Sunday 2-0. It's most likely going to be Tennessee, but if the Bearcats get to that position, they've got 2 games to play with on that day. And potentially, if I don't think it's possible because the math doesn't really work. Well, no, 2 teams can't get there 2-0. So, but there's a possibility for a game 7 on a Sunday. I'm figuring out the math in my head. I'm trying to work through it. But anyway, no, here it is. So, you get the 2 games on Sunday, and then if the team who was already undefeated loses that first game, then you get the game 7. Sound good? My apologies for everyone who just had to listen to that last 30 seconds. But in essence, you got to play at least 2 games, and you don't go home right away if you just have one bad pitching outing or something like that. You've got at least 2 days to shine. So hopefully you get this first game, and then you see what happens against Tennessee. Tennessee is definitely good. I will not argue that. They are a good team. But, there's got to be a chance where you can, at least put yourself in position. I like what they've got. I like what UC's got. Tennessee 16-14 in the SEC, 43-16 overall, but they were not the greatest team in conference play. So I do think there's a possibility that we could be seeing a team that Cincinnati could have a chance against. Just looking at their profile, we got to watch out for Hunter High. He's a right fielder. He's a sophomore. OPS of 1.267. Andrew Fisher, a junior first baseman, 1.253 OPS. And then on the pitching side, looks like we got some absolute studs over here. Liam Doyle, Marcus Phillips, Nate Snead. But none of these guys are rocking like a 1.1 ERA. They're all in the 3s. So it's a college baseball game. Things can happen. And with KC on our side, I feel like anything is possible. So it really comes down to me, Justin, just from watching this team, it's the pitching. The pitching really has to stay up, be able to hold through 3 or 4 games throughout the entire weekend. And that's going to be tough for them because we've seen that they have a good staff for Fridays and Saturdays, but Sundays have kind of been, that third day has kind of been what's gotten them, especially if they've had to use a bunch of guys in those first 2 games of the series. So it's going to be an endurance test for the Bearcats if they want to get advance and move on to a super regional.
And here's what I'll say. I think that we can provide some extra motivation for them. We know that the Bearcats travel well in most sports. When we went to Oregon State, that's not the most easy site to travel to. Knoxville, that's just shy of 4 hours away. That's such an easy day trip, such an easy weekend trip. And I think that we might have a decent little crowd going this weekend, specifically for the Bearcats. I already know of a few people that are going down. And I don't know. I think we can Notre Dame this thing and kind of turn this stadium into the Bearcats Stadium 2.0. And this season as well has set some attendance records with both season tickets, with individual games. I mean, Bearcats baseball definitely has gotten very popular this year in Cincinnati. So who's to say we can't take that down the road?
I love it.
Well, gentlemen, that covers a lot of baseball. At this point, we probably will not regroup unless there's some really miraculous things happening here with baseball. We will probably not regroup for quite some time, as it usually goes in the off season, maybe like once a month or so. But if things start really getting crazy, we might have to be back here soon, very soon. But all of this to say, best of luck to Bearcats baseball squad. Of course, all of the best wishes, and we hope that, of course, we can watch them proceed farther into the tournament beyond just the regional, and maybe surprise some people, maybe shake it up a little bit, especially in Knoxville. That'd be interesting to take home a W. So
I would like that.
I would also like that.
I think we should just pull for the W there. Pull for the regional and knock out the defending national champion World Series winners in their own stadium. I think that sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, second time in 6 years. Count me in.
Yeah. I would love that. That would be quite nice.
So let's plan on that. And that was also a note from the last time the Bearcats were in the College World Series. So all of that to say, best of luck to those guys. Basketball, very quick notes here, but we have added yet another gigantic man to the post, none other than Baba Miller. I think everybody is very excited about this edition. For those of you who are not super familiar, everything that you were excited about with Mustafa Chum, just bring it on over here. It's the same dealio. Of course, a little bit different backgrounds, different level of play. However, the archetype, the build, there's some just beautiful work happening right now with Wes Miller, Corey Evans, and squad of building this roster into the NBA archetype, prototype, profile. Like it is impressive what they are doing right now. How do you guys feel about this?
Can I read off his bio so far on Sports Reference College Basketball? Name: Baba Miller. Position: forward. Height: 6'11". Weight: 204 pounds. Hometown: Mallorca, Spain. Mallorca. And then he played for Real Madrid before coming over to college. Do you guys know that ad I'm talking about? The Geico ad?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes. Sorry. Anyway, no free ads. My apologies. And then so he played for Florida State his first 2 years, and then switched over to Florida Atlantic for this past season. Was all AAC this year. Averaged 11.3 points. Averaged 7 boards. And man, he could definitely be a force in the Big 12. The problem for me is making sure that he and Mustafa get enough minutes, and that we get a little bit more weight on his frame. Just because 6'11" and 7 foot is great, but we saw with Aziz that if there's definitely a finesse game there that does not really work as well within the post in the Big 12. So I kind of want him to be able to get to that. But, he's going to be a senior, and he's definitely played enough college ball to get a big part of this team. So there's no stone unturned this year, guys. Wes Miller understands that this is in or out year for him. So he really needed this, and he needed to turn it on, and he got another guy, another piece of the hopeful Infinity Stone gauntlet.
This is an important thing to add to. If I remember correctly, he was being pretty heavily pursued by Pat Kelsey and Louisville's squad there. This is another guy who, again, a little bit later in the portal, but a very important addition. I think it's interesting to note that the way that this roster is built out, similarly to what Steve said, the minutes load is going to be really interesting. But I'm curious if you guys think that there's I hesitate in saying this because we said the exact same thing last year. Minutes load, and how do you deal with all of this talent, and how do you make sure that everybody's happy? Do you think that we're in a position now where it's just kind of like, hey, we've had the conversations. This guy, even though it looks like a big signing, is going to be a role player, and this guy who, we're bringing in for this specific spot that might not be so important, might actually end up being a guy who's going to take the load of the minutes. Like, we don't really know at this point until we see these guys play in November what their specific time on the court is going to be. I'm curious if you guys think that an addition like this is going to be a 15 to 20 minute type of guy, or you guys think that this is going to be somebody who is literally splitting it down the middle, because you also have to take into factor Jalen Haynes. You've got you have a lot of people in a lot of different places, and again, a lot of the same type of build with certain players. I'm curious if we kind of run into the same issue that we had last year of so many guys in one spot and not really having an ability to know who should take that spot until you basically get to like build Big 12 play in January.
Here's what I'll say. I think that, and you can call me out on this. I think last year our roster build was athletes who want to be stars. And I think that in having that type of player, or multiple of that type of player, that's where you have to get to protecting the egos and protecting the playing time. I think the approach to this transfer portal has been go get dogs who just want to win and who just want to ball. And so I think that this roster, and granted, we don't know them on a personal level. We only know what's been reported from these other fan bases, from these other reporters. Like, we're about to get, the 2025-26 Bearcats basketball experience, and we don't know what that is. But we know what last year was, and it wasn't good enough. Mm-hmm. And it was because of specific balancing of playing time and egos and, all that comes along with that. This year, just win. Like, the fan base is hungry. Wes Miller's hungry. I just get players that have that dog in them and just want to ball. And so I don't think it'll be as big of an issue this year of managing playing time. I think that'll always be an issue, especially when you're recruiting people in today's transfer portal era. Like, yes, we can pay you X amount, or yes, we can endorse you X amount. But at the end of the day, how much will I be on the court? I think every athlete wants to be on the court as much as possible. But, hopefully that's not as big of an issue this year.
Completely agree. And just to speak on that point, Joel, I think it's a possibility too, where, maybe some of these guys aren't always in, the 8-9 man rotation as we get down to a close enough, get closer to, February and March. But right now, our guy Bearcat Bunch has Baba in the starting five, along with Jizzle, Day, Sean, and Mustafa. Joel, did you see Sean the other day?
Yep.
You mentioned something about
it. Shout out Sean and Bev shopping at the Oakley Target, my current employer. Just walked out of the office, saw him at a check lane, went up to to some of my team members and said, "You know who that is?" And they said, "No, I assume he's an athlete." I go,
"Our savior."
He's
is what it is.
Yeah, I think he's an athlete. So
left hand up. That's our man right there. And then the rotation secondary, Bearcat Bunch, Eric Lilly lists Kirk Creasa, Sincere Harris, Jalen Celestine. I think he meant to say Jalen Celestine, Jalen Haynes in this spot too, but he lists Jalen Haynes as the backup center. But it's pretty interesting, Justin, that we're going to have, now Baba's a senior, Mustafa is going to be a junior, Sean's a freshman, but it seems like a pretty youthful lineup as your potential starting lineup. But Jizzle's already got 2 years of experience under his belt. Day has 3 or 4.
4 technically.
Four, yeah. So he'll be a fifth year senior, potentially get another year after that as well if he wants it. And then Sean, Baba, and Mustafa, there's like a pretty high potential there. I would love to see what happens with that roster on day one. I don't know if Sean is going to start the first game of the season. I would not be surprised if he did, because he is basically left-hand Jesus, is what I've been, what I've seen and what I've been told about him. The man can walk on water, but it'll be interesting. I do think that, Joel, you're right in that they went out and specifically got a guy like Sincere Harris, who we saw his highlight tape. He's getting on the floor, diving for balls, making defensive plays, getting in the opponent's face. Like, he's a grit guy. He's going to be a tough player. He's going to be a tough guy to play against, whichever side of the ball you're on. And so I think if you can get a rotation of, like, even Kerr Kriisa, he's going to bring an attitude to this team that we have not had in a while. The dude that shit talks, like, no matter what. This dude, Kerr Kriisa, was shit talking Luka Doncic, like when Luka Doncic was like 19 and Kerr Kriisa was like 3 years older than him, but Luka was already just like, I think he was already on the either had just been drafted by it or had already been on the Mavericks for a year. I don't remember the exact timing of it, but still, Kerr Kriisa is just in college, like, talking shit to him, saying what's up. Like, that's going to be a different style that we have not really had. We've kind of had more of like the, laid back, timid approach, like, and I feel like that kind of plays its way into games as well with how this team approach things. And so we're Cincinnati basketball, man. We should be in your face. We should be tough. We should be nasty. We should be, not letting. I just watched the Winning Time documentary recently before the Knicks and Pacers played their first game of their current round of the Eastern Conference Finals. And one of the big things the Knicks guys said back in the day was, you don't go in the middle against us without getting fouled. And I'm kind of hoping we bring a little bit of that back, because this is Cincinnati basketball. We're supposed to be tough, gritty, defensive, play hard. You know that you're in our house when you come in here, and it's got to be a certain attitude. And I think that guys like Sincere Harris, guys like Sean Abayev, guys potentially, like Jizzle and Day-Day that have been through it and been through the shit and have come back and want to see this happen. I'm just optimistic that can bring together a hungry, desiring team that wants to go out and play scrappy ball 35 times a year.
Yeah. I mean, we saw plenty of times just the team gets comfortable. And in any sport, even in like our work days, the second you get comfortable is the second you start getting behind. And you just got to stay aggressive and you got to stay on top of it and just, maintain that energy. And I think that this team going into next season is going to do that much, much better than this past year.
And the guys last year were talented. That was the problem.
That's not the question. They were absolutely athletically talented.
Yeah.
I just think that some of them didn't have that dog in them.
I want that dog back, man. We're talking about baseball like in May. No offense to the baseball team. I am a big baseball fan, but guys, let's face it. This is a school that has been built on the pride and the backs of basketball players for the last 50, 60, 70 years. And I want nothing more than for us to be successful as a basketball school again. That's not to take anything away from any other sport. I love all the sports that play with the red and black on their shoulders, but it's something about Bearcats basketball that always brings me in, always keeps me going, despite all of the crap that we have all experienced over the last 6, 10, 20 years, however you call it.
Let's be more than a one-sport school.
That would be
every
I'm
year.
All for it.
Let's be more than one sport.
Please.
That would be very nice.
Joel, I don't know if you heard about my potential booster plan for this year. Once I win the lottery, it's not an if, it's a win. We're just going to flood our rosters, and basically we're going to try and go for the just win everything and then win the Directors Cup. So that's my plan. So if you're interested,
I'm in. I'm in. Yeah, absolutely, I'm in. I just want to keep Justin from talking because we've interrupted him a few different times. So, Steve, you got anything else?
Yeah. Speaking of, is Wes Miller on the hot seat? No.
No. Maybe. You better make the fucking tournament this year. I'll tell you that much.
I think I'll agree with that. Go ahead.
Also, quick update. Go Sirs, 130 to 121.
Okay. All right.
Wait, go what?
New York.
Pacers.
Sorry, you said Sirs.
Yes, Sirs.
Yes, sir.
Less. Is that what it is? I've never sounded it out to myself.
Sirs.
That okay, because it's just them saying yes, sir, but with the
yes, CERS.
I thought it was some announcer thing or a meme or something.
Nope.
No, it's just
Pacers and Racers.
That's funny.
Pacers and Racers. I don't know if it's safe, guys.
What's safe?
Well, you know, like if I say something, I don't.
Go ahead.
What else you got? Come on.
I'm done.
Come on, Joe.
I'm done. I'm taking the topic off the screen.
Here's
now.
what
I'm done.
see. I'm trying to walk him in the trap. I know he's like his tongue is like itching. He's like, God.
I'll be kind. Go ahead. You can speak now. I give you permission.
Thank you, Joel.
You're welcome.
All of the things we've already mentioned. One thing I do want to say that to Steve's point earlier on, or maybe it was Joel's. I forget at this point. It was forever ago. On the age of some of these players, Baba Miller as a senior, we're starting to get to the point now too where a lot of these guys are not going to be COVID seniors, where they might have a 5th year or they might have a 6th year. Of course, you do have Kerr, who's been around for an eternity, but aside from him, Jalen Celestine has, I guess this will be his 5th year with the COVID year. And then Jalen Haynes might also be a 5th year. I forget, but Baba Miller is going to, again, be on his 4th and final senior year. And then everybody past that, of course, still has some extended eligibility. The point that I think is really interesting here is if you do start with Jizzle, Day, Sean, Baba, and Mustafa, that lineup, I think, is, again, it is a very young core generally. But you still have, of course, the experience with Day and with Baba. When you go to your bench, this is the thing where I feel like we've kind of lacked this in the past few years, which I feel like we actually have a leg up this time. If you were to go across the line and say who's our bench right now, and say maybe a 10-man rotation, it's Kirk Kriza, Sincere Harris, Jalen Celestine, Jalen Haynes, and then probably you slot Tyler McKinley in there as well at the 4 or 5, depending on where he plays, or maybe even Halving, depending on how all that nets out. When you factor all of that in, all 4 except for maybe Tyler McKinley or Halving are going to be guys who are on their 3rd or 4th year in the league, and I think that's a 3rd or 4th year at a high level too, playing at a really, really high level. I think that's a lot different than what we've expected and what we've seen from years past, where your bench generally is pretty young. They don't have a lot of experience. And once you get off of that 5-man rotation, you're looking for somebody who might be exciting, like that in the past few seasons. That's been Dan, that's been a guy who is going to pop off, but you might only really have one key guy to go to, and you got to rotate your starters in. This, I think, is really interesting going forward, where if you build that foundation of having guys who are experienced and also defensively minded on your bench, you can protect and hold some of these leads that you've been bleeding for years. And I think that strategy, it's really clear to see, because it's not just offense and then defense. You have a balance, but you have a really strong veteran-minded second rotation that can be key. And then, of course, if there's an injury or something goes wrong in that starting lineup, you have a lot of guys who can plug and play really fast and who are up to speed already, which I think sets this team up for a lot of success in ways that we haven't necessarily been set up for in the years past. So that's all I had to say.
One final point I have about basketball is I might have spoken too early when I said, we won't have to protect egos. If there's one ego you protect this year, it's probably Sean's, specifically because the last time we had an NBA caliber, recruit or player this early in their career was Tari Eason. And they are now associated more with LSU than they are with the Bearcats. And I just think that for our image, it's so important to have those players sustain that success, with the last college team they played for being the Seapaw.
That's very fair. That's a great point. I mean, you want to talk about like the what ifs and the, oh my God, I hate John Brannon's. That's a situation that I think we all wish we could get back. And it's something that we pointed out too in that point in time. It's like, this is the guy. Of all the guys on the roster right now, this is the one that's going to make the difference. Why is he not getting more minutes?
Yeah.
Then, of course, goes somewhere else and becomes an NBA player, becomes a really, really good NBA player who's still playing some really solid minutes for a decent team. So I think those kind of things are important to note. I am curious too, because in this frame of mind, like you look back last year, I think everything with Dan, like I'm going to test the waters of the draft, but I'm going to the league this year. That kind of thing. I think that mentality is different when you are talking about a guy like Sean, who is set up so well so early in his career that he actually could, he's on draft boards. He's on a watch list right now to go. So if you have guys like that, and again, all of this to mention, we still don't even talk about Keyshawn Tillery, which is, I mean, who knows what could happen, because that guy is clearly very talented. And I think that's a player that is not getting enough conversation right now that is going to be talked about a lot by the end of this season. However, you mentioned all of these different guys and trying to manage their egos, trying to manage who gets the most amount of minutes. I think you really do have to prioritize Mustafa and Sean. And I really think just those two above all else, because Day-Day's on his last year. I think he's going to get his minutes. He clearly has earned his minutes over the past few years. Jizzle's probably going to get his minutes just based on the load there. But I think those two guys who are a bit younger are again, to what you said, Joel, like you have to manage your NBA facing, your league facing type of guys, because when those guys get in, that shows that Wes Miller is a guy that can get guys to the league, which he has not done yet.
Also, just in
For
terms
the
of
Bearcats.
yes, also just in terms of brand recognition. I mean, look at the NFL. Like very recently, with the Bearcats having sustained success, like you look at Sauce Gardner, like the Kelseys. I mean, you can list so many other players, specifically from the last few years, that are currently starters in the NFL. That just gives such more brand recognition. Like you watch Monday Night Football, and they have rosters pop up where they say their school names. How damn good does it feel to hear the Bearcats on that? And so exact same with the NBA, except there's less players. So if you have a player make it into the NBA, that's immediately more impressive.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's tough too, because I think while both leagues cycle players around a lot, the NFL, like you said, just has more guys. So it's not necessarily easier. It's by no means easier. There's just that many more players trying to make it in the NFL and make practice squads and what have you. But, a guy making an NBA roster versus a guy making an NFL roster, the numbers just aren't there and they're not in your favor. So if you can maintain those players on there, most of the guys who go to the league sometimes only last 2 or 3 years. I mean, even look at like a Jake or Gary, like they didn't really sustain themselves in the league a super long time. They got their minutes, they got their opportunities where they did, but it is very difficult to stay playing at a very high level and to be in a position to succeed in the NBA. So if you can get more guys in, it does more for your brand and it keeps continuing to bring guys in. It's the reason that we recruited so well in the 90s and going into the 2000s. And I think it's a reason that you should focus on it now.
And I will say one other player that we should protect probably is Jizzle James, just because when you look at previous teams, you have your, David DeJulius, you have your Gary Clark, you have your staples of, teams that had multi-year players. And I think Jizzle is in that prime position now to be probably the core veteran of this team.
I'd say with Day-Day.
With Day-Day, yes. But like you said, Day-Day's in his last year. Jizzle, if Jizzle doesn't get what he wants out of this team, there's potential that he goes somewhere else. And I just always hate seeing that when it's someone who is talented is sort of a face of a roster. So I would argue prioritizing Jizzle as well. But, if you keep going down the list of, we should prioritize this person and this person and this person, well, then you're back in the same boat you were last year. So
very, very good point. Steve, any closing thoughts?
I just want to win, man. I'm just,
just win, baby.
It's, I think we host a podcast for the very reason of talking about it, but I'm also I'm almost to the point where I'm done talking about it and I just want to see them win. So it's all just, fair. It's been long enough. So I'm just optimistic and hopeful that we can finally get something done this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good point. So as Steve has mentioned, we will not be podcasting again until the Bearcats basketball team wins a game. So see you guys in January. No.
Oh,
God, could you
so you're
imagine?
saying we're starting 0-13?
Yes.
There were
No
some
more
dark
you.
days in January earlier this year where I thought, oh, are we just going to go over? Are we going to do the Oklahoma State and just not win a conference game at all?
It's because I left the podcast, isn't it?
No, it's because I joined again.
Oh, that's fair.
That
well,
is when
I
things
mean,
started taking
yeah,
a turn.
but you left for football.
Well, I mean, football is just their own cause. Like we can't control football. They just kind of are on
we
their own.
started hot, and then
I mean, you did kind of you kind of left in like late September, early October. I don't know, Steve. That one might be on you.
Hey, they won their first game after I got back. Like they beat Arizona State. So, and then they kind of just went downhill after that. So
anyways.
I did not do anything to the Arizona State team to make sure they wouldn't win. I did not go out and hurt Sam Levitt. But maybe me being here caused Arizona State to play not as well because of me. So
they're so intimidated of Steve's bear down on this podcast bear
down and Cincinnati. They just don't like it. They don't like it very much.
They hate the Bears. They hate Bears. They hate cats.
Hate them both.
But they love the sun, as do most cats.
And the devil.
All right. Well, gentlemen, our closing remarks will be on this: food. The final topic of the day.
I like food.
We all like food. We will mention our favorite notes of food you have less than 30 seconds to talk about your favorite note of food, and then we will discuss. But my favorite note of food I recently got back from a week in Brazil. My God, the food is different. It is so much better in Brazil than it is in America. It is just worlds apart. Everything is fresh. You can eat salmon. You can eat some exotic type of thing. You can eat steak. You can eat all these different types of foods all in one meal, and it feels like cohesive and it feels natural. In America, it's just like, here's your meat, here's your potatoes, it's done. In Brazil,
did you drink a caipirinha, Justin?
A what?
A caipirinha.
A what?
Did you not drink a caipirinha while you were in Brazil?
Caipirinha? No.
Justin,
no.
I can get all that food at the Walmart freezer aisle.
Of course you can, but can you have it prepared properly?
They come in little trays. You just pop it in the microwave. Boom, bing, bang, boom. Kid cuisine, you're done.
Oh no.
Kid cuisine, Sam. Raw salmon.
I personally am wondering why in America, one of my favorite countries, that we don't have a place that just serves you steak and fries and wine and nothing else. Because that is a place I ate while I was in Paris this past weekend.
World Travelers here at
it's a place that does not take reservations and only has one thing on the menu, and it is that. It is steak free, and you can select a bottle of wine to drink, or weirdly enough, Corona beer. There was a ton of Corona, by the way, in France. I have no idea why. Maybe all the Corona is just going to end up there instead of in the U.S. in a few months. But I'm just asking for some place in America to take the steak free concept. Now they said it was unlimited. They really just gave you 2 plates of it, but we're America. We can just do that unlimited, right? We can keep doing that, like steak free with
it's called Golden Corral.
You're right, Joel.
Hey, shout out to the Golden Corral, by the way, on the west side that later turned into a funeral home. I'm sure there's been many people who partook in both of those.
Golden Corral, ministers of culture, as we all know.
Joel, you had the taste of Cincinnati this weekend, weren't you?
Well, hold on, don't interrupt me. My world travels took me to cloudy Los Angeles, where we went to Temecula for a few days, Southern California wine country. Absolutely gorgeous. Went to Joshua Tree. I had probably the best tacos of my life in Los Angeles on Cinco de Mayo with a fantastic margarita. So, I mean, that was my food highlight aside from In-N-Out. In-N-Out burgers slap. Their fries are mid at best, but hey,
yes,
it's the skyline of the West Coast, so you got to try it while you're out there.
You have to eat the fries like immediately, or else they're not very good. Like,
Yep.
and it's because they're fresh potatoes and they don't really use many preservatives, which I respect.
I forget who it was, but it was a Sean Evans Hot Ones interview, I believe, with a comedian recently, who's gone viral for saying that In-N-Out is overrated and Culver's is one of the best fast food chains. And it was specifically about how the fries are just so trash. And I don't know. I don't know what my favorite fast food place is. I try not to eat fast food that often, but In-N-Out burgers, they slap. Like,
do you know who it is who said that? Andrew Zimmern, the dude who used to be on the Food Channel. So
that's it.
Shout out to him. That's
not a comedian, actual food personality.
Man.
So
actual food man.
My apologies.
Joel, did you like the animal sauce, the spread?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to California before, so I've had it. So it was not my first time trying it. And of course, I made the joke, we had Skyline breakfast in the morning when we left CVG, and In-N-Out as our lunch when we got to California. So I don't know how many people have ever had Skyline and In-N-Out in the same day, but it's a pretty exclusive club that I feel like everyone should be a part of.
It will be much easier sooner, as I might be breaking news to a lot of our Cincinnati listeners, but In-N-Out's new headquarters for the East Coast, it will be in Franklin, Tennessee, subset of Nashville, only a good 30 minutes south. And there are 2 locations already underway for the city of Nashville. So I will be frequenting the East Coast In-N-Out all the time. And so technically it's only a 4-hour drive, 4.5-hour drive, instead of having to hop on a plane.
There we
Very
go.
doable to have both in the same day now.
There we go.
I like that.
Very excited for it. I will close with this because there was some weird stuff. Joel, while you were in California, what was the most uncommon thing you ate?
Oh God. That's a great question. Oh, guys, I had a churro French toast for breakfast one morning. I don't know if that's uncommon, but my God, was that? I don't want to say what it was in my mouth, but oh my God, it was great. Yeah,
we will hear the descriptions after the show, guaranteed.
Yep. No, if you've ever been to Michigan and toured the cider mills up there, it tasted like a fresh, crispy cider mill donut.
Yes.
Just absolutely fantastic, otherworldly. Biscuits and gravy that I had in California, absolute garbage. Not a touch of love on those things.
No southern love there.
No, God, no. Keep your hands off my biscuits and gravy, but you can make me churro French toast any day. We went to Knott's Berry Farm, though, and their entire thing is boysenberry. Like Kings Island has blue ice cream. They've got boysenberry ice cream. And like every restaurant is some sort of boysenberry biscuits and jam, boysenberry this, boysenberry that. So that was cool as well to try. Had a Dodger dog, also had an Angel dog. They're just long hot dogs, but when in Rome.
Steve, Paris, France, hit us.
Guess what I had? Guess the most typical French food you can think of that probably grosses people out.
Baguettes.
Croissant.
Close. Escargot.
Escargot. Nice. See, that is a little more exotic.
I had it, and they basically just made it with pesto and butter, and it tasted fine. It tasted good. So no problems on my end. So I did enjoy it. So that was a good one. And then I did get to try the Skyline dip Chilito the first day, but I think it was their first day problems because I did not really have any Frito in it. It was either very soggy Frito or like the Frito. There was just no crunch. It was just a Toledo with sour cream, which is not bad. But please go ahead, Joel.
Just to clarify, this was not in France. This was before you left. They do not have Skyline chili in France.
Now, this might be a Gold Star thing, but I kind of want Skyline to get into the steak game and just start putting the chili over the steak and put some fries over there.
I mean, well, Skyline's doing some stolen valor right now because Gold Star chili has Go-Ritos, which have Fritos in them. So, just saying.
I appreciate that Gold Star is trying and that they have a good menu like that branches out, but I know no one in my family. I don't want to know no one within my orbit that willingly chooses Gold Star over Skyline.
Very fair.
As someone who has tried probably 8 of the Cincinnati chili chains, Gold Star is overhated. And their burgers and like they've got a chicken bacon ranch sandwich that's actually pretty solid. Gold Star fries are probably better than Skyline, but there's nothing. I don't know.
Well, but the Skyline fry is perfect for the sogginess to soak up the chili and the cheese.
I don't know. Gold Star's a bit savory.
You just don't like melted cheese. You're weird about melted cheese.
No, I like melted cheese. I don't like when you get your to-go conies and you drive 5 minutes home and then you just have a solid brick of cheese. If I wanted a brick of cheese, I'd just go to Kroger, get a brick of cheese, slap it on a hot dog.
I don't know.
I want my pile. I want my cold pile. It's a different texture. It's all about the texture, Steve.
All right, Justin,
I'm hot.
Get us out of here. What's your what was your weird food you had recently?
Somewhere between either the chicken hearts or this one, I might catch some flack from. I feel like I don't know. It's brought up some weird conversations. Capybara.
It's the golden retriever of nature.
See, I knew somebody was going to be sad about it.
But at the same time, it's just a big old hamster.
It's a giant river rat, is what it is, and I can tell you right now, chicken hearts really just taste like chicken, a little bit chewier. Not great, but not terrible. Would try again in certain circumstances. Capybara, never touch again in my life. I felt a little odd about it. I knew what it was going in my mouth, and then when I ate it, it was one of the most gamey meats I've ever had in my life.
Yeah,
served alongside literally some of the best meat I have ever ate in my entire life. I will say this much: the Brazilian picanha, the most popular cut of meat there, to die for. It's like America has like Texas brisket, Brazil has picanha, and it is insane.
I'm so sad that you didn't try caipirinha while you were there. It's a rum. It's basically just a rum mojito, but Brazil does it better, and I'm sad.
I would like you to say that again.
Caipirinha.
Cappuccino.
Dunkachino.
Crunchitize me, Cap'n.
Oh, I had a Dunkin' latte recently, and it was quite good. The coffee milk, no joke.
Okay, sorry, Steve. It was kind of a blur. I had like 5 of those.
Okay, all right. Good. I was.
I have 2 going out.
Dunkin' is coming to.
Yeah.
Dunkin' is coming to CVG and replacing Starbucks.
I did see that.
There's a lot of upset people about that.
Yeah.
We are a Dunkin' family. This household runs on Dunkin', so we're fine. My wife has had camel, alligator, and kangaroo before. She did a bunch of study abroads when we were at UC. She did Abu Dhabi, Australia. She went to England. Like, she's been all over. But my last note of vacation food, I had arguably one of the best beers in existence, Golden Road Mango Cart, straight from the teat at their main brewery in Anaheim. Oh my God. Like, also, this was after I caught a foul ball in Anaheim. So just sitting there after a baseball game on the high of getting a ball and then just chugging down a massive Golden Road. Their happy hour is 6 o'clock until close, Monday through Friday.
Oh my God.
Tell me what bar you've ever been to has a happy hour in the like peak bar times. Correct. It's fantastic. So,
Joel, that's just because it's California. They charge you 25%.
I'll pay 25% for Golden Road Mango Cart straight from.
Well, they're all California sober out there, man. They don't drink beer.
Yeah, they don't drink beer. They just got to move the product because it's so bad.
I will say, after driving,
they drink kombucha.
After driving California freeways for an entire week, I have a newfound respect for the Californians' SNL sketches.
The Californians, yeah. Well, and then just how crazy they drive too. We got a lot of that here in Arizona. So I mean,
I had one day where I wanted to end it all. Every other day, it was actually very manageable driving. There was just one day where it was getting cut off left and right. My wife's laughing at me because she experienced road rage like no other. But while we're on the topic of food, yes, Justin, Taste of Cincinnati happened this weekend. I was not down there. My wife's dad was in town. They went together. They went to the Reds game. They did the Indy 500 then on Sunday.
Cool.
But from everything I've heard from Taste of Cincy, it was just so damn packed. It's right up there on 5th Street. And it was just shoulder to shoulder. My wife said her dad literally just cut off a line of 30 people and walked right up to a counter. And she just had to turn around and walk away like she wasn't associated with him. I don't
bad moves.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever have the balls to do that. But damn, that's a power move. But no, I heard it was great. I heard that it was a lot of main courses. Like, it wasn't a bunch of small bites. But I'm a big Oktoberfest guy over Taste of Cincy, especially with the Sawyer Point location. Because Oktoberfest a couple years ago was up on 5th Street when it was bouncing around. And
right.
I think Sawyer Point is the best spot for any festival, for any, weekend event that you're going to do in Cincy, just because there's so much room for activities. And it's not super congested. I don't know. That's my hot take. Any major festival, bring it to Sawyer Point.
I like that.
I know Pride's Pride's down there. Bunbury, yep. Oktoberfest has found a home down there. But yeah, and then also, Graders has announced some of their new flavors. They did the Skyline collab back in early spring. It was probably late winter when they did that. January, thank you. The big one they just announced this past week is a Kings Island collab called Beast Tracks. Not Beast Tracks, but it's like Beast Tracks.
Why wouldn't they just do the blue?
Beast Feast. It's Beast Feast.
I think I like Beast Tracks better. Why wouldn't they just do the blue?
Well, it's a funfetti cookie butter ice cream. It is so good.
Okay, I respect it, but you got blue right there. Just do the blue.
Whoa. Wait. Joel, do you still have the pint for me?
Yeah, I still have 3 pints of Skyline ice cream in my freezer.
Thank God. I'm coming to collect them.
Great. I currently have 4 pints of Beast Feast in my freezer as well. Nice. I also, when I went to buy Beast Feast on Friday, I saw a pint called Flying Pig Tracks that I don't recall seeing any advertisement for when that released, but
I think that was the April one.
That was April.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I like that the Graders this year is just like, let's just do Cincinnati, and people are like, yes, more, please,
absolutely.
We've been begging.
Wait until they bring out the Porkopolis flavor. Nothing but ham.
Nothing but ham and Porkopolis. But Beast Feast is like limited time flavor, but they're also serving it at Kings Island the entire summer. So if you don't get it while it's in scoop shops, just go on down to Kings Island and get it fresh. It is very, very good. It's not vanilla. It's a cookie butter base with just massive globs. Graders loves to just throw a bunch of shit in their pints and ice cream. Like, it is massive chunks of cookie dough in that thing.
I love it.
All right. This will be our absolute closing thing. And we were going away for the next month, putting it into the filing cabinet.
Side note, so I can interrupt you one more time.
No.
I love how we said, hey, we can probably do this in 30 minutes.
Hey, well, it's also been like a month, so it's expected. The fact that this is near an hour, I think, is impressive. Guys, all right, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'll take first if I need to, unless somebody's got one. If you're making Cincinnati flavors, a weird one, like something weird, it's got to be really specifically Cincinnati. What's the weird flavor you're gonna make?
Is this in ice cream, like an ice cream flavor, or just in general?
Just an ice cream flavor, but
ice cream flavor.
It's got to have.
I feel like Sky Rosa flavored ice cream probably isn't the best.
That's probably fair. I don't really think like a Ryan Guy's Truth flavored ice cream would be very good. They just did a bourbon pecan in partnership with New Riff Distillery in Newport. But bourbon is it definitely has some sweet to it. So I just don't think anything's redeeming. Like, okay, as much as we love Cincy Light, like just imagine they're like, okay, Cincy Light, the ice cream. Like,
see, but Cincy Light lime ice cream. Now that can play. Do like a key lime pie type of deal.
I don't know. I just don't think beer and ice cream would really go together. Okay.
Do you think a Geta ice cream would work? Probably.
Oh no, that's the
It
weird
would
one.
sell.
That's the
It would
weird.
sell like
Yeah.
fucking hotcakes.
Because
It would, but that's the weird.
Sell like Geta.
I still hold true. The oyster crackers in the Skyline Spice ice cream were very good because they were still crunchy and it gave you a salt with the sweet. It wasn't that weird.
So the meat in the Geta ice cream will just slap.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Okay. I got it. Do you guys know Zips Cafe?
Yeah.
So you get the burger and the onion rings, and they just like mash that up into some ice cream. Like I don't think a burger ice cream would be very good.
What if it's a partnership with the Precinct where they just blend a bunch of steaks together?
Make it sloppy steaks.
Sloppy steak flavored ice cream.
Sloppy steaks at the Precinct.
I mean,
All
they've done. Think of what other Cincinnati ones they've done. Boldy Bearcat. They did the Fiona themed hippo flavor. That's been discontinued. My wife still has a bunch of pints of that in our freezer as well. Because when they come out with seasonal releases, we buy a shit ton of them because we don't know when they're coming back.
They have the archive.
I've told the story before of how when Boldy Bearcat was first released, I bought 12 pints to last me an entire year's supply.
Yep.
And then when I ran out of that the following year, they made it a regular flavor. So it works, people. The theory works. But no, I don't know of what else is kind of easy to make. I mean, you could do like a Purple People Bridge, like lavender, like ice cream, maybe with like white chocolate chips or some shit like that. I don't know.
All right, I got one for you. Here's what it is. West Side Lizard.
What was that? This is great podcasting.
Okay, I think I'm about to call.
Justin's drunk.
It fell over. West Side Lizards.
West Side Lizards.
The Lazarus Lizards. I like
Lazarus Lizards.
That's funny.
I think Lazarus Lizards would sell like crazy. I can't keep my mic.
Our new house here in Madisonville that we moved to in January, the lizards have come out now. And I am so happy to be reunited with those damn things.
Some stupid 7-year-old back in the 1800s just started this whole thing.
What if is there anything either Bengals or Reds themed that they could make into an ice cream?
Mr. Red's mustache.
I feel like they might be able to do some sort of Bengal stripe, like make an orange ice cream, and then either have like what if Oreo cookies in that? Yeah, like tiger stripe.
But that's just Boldly Bearcat.
No, orange cream. You do
it's
orange
the
cream
same but different.
With Oreo cookie.
Oh my god, orange creamsicle with Oreo cookies.
Yeah.
Get graders on the phone. Bengals themed ice cream right here, right now.
We're making our own ice cream, everybody. Viva La Cats is making their own French pot ice cream.
Protein ice cream, call it Pro Cream. Get it in stores.
God damn. Somebody could have swallowed Joel, but they didn't. All right, guys, it's been great.
You could. You still could, Justin. And that has been Viva La Cats presented by the 12th.
It's been great talking to y'all. We have fun as always. It's been way too long since the three of us have been together in person, so this is a little bit of a catch up for ourselves, but also for y'all. If you enjoy it, we enjoy you. Thank you for listening. As always, make sure to check out the show on YouTube if you aren't already, and make sure to check out our network overhead, Z1012 Network, bringing the best coverage of all things Big 12, every sport you could possibly imagine. It is fantastic. Thank you, Phil, and thank you to all our other 1012 shows. Keep it up, guys. We got some great coverage. As for us, myself, Justin, Steve, and Pete Zerrill, Joel Spencer, thank you for joining us this week. Take care. Let's get some Bearcat W's in Knoxville, yeah? Yeah.
Huh? Sounds good to me.
That's a W.
That's a W. All right, boys. We know how to do this. Across the screen. Viva
La Cats.
The Lazarus Lizard ice cream really should exist. I'm telling you guys. It's a